Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the theory of catharsis in Aristotle's Poetics. We have discussed Aristotle's Poetics in a previous video and we focused on his theory of mimesis. Today we are going to focus on his theory of catharsis. Catharsis is the process of releasing strong or pent-up emotions through art. And I am not talking about the artist here. I am talking about the one who watches, listens to, or reads the work of art. Aristotle coins the term catharsis, which means to cleanse or purge, to describe the release of emotional tension that he believed spectators experienced while watching dramatic tragedy. So, catharsis comes from a Greek word that means to cleanse or to purge, and it describes the release of emotional tension, the release of pent up emotions that the spectators experience while watching dramatic tragedy. So, if you watch a movie like Titanic or The Fault in Our Stars, you will experience catharsis because these movies are emotionally devastating. So, you will experience emotional tension when you watch them. The picture before you depicts a woman, and the woman's head is locked in a cage, and the cage is filled with crows. But the door of the cage is open and the crows are flying away. This is a metaphor for catharsis. These crows or these birds represent the pent up emotion that this woman has. And when she experiences catharsis, the pent up emotions fly away or go away, and she finally feels free. A cathartic experience, whether in theater or literature, is an experience in which the audience or reader experiences the same emotions that the characters are experiencing on stage or on the page. It's when someone reads a work of art or watches a movie or a play and experiences the emotions that the characters experience in the book, movie, or play. Anyone who likes reading novels or watching movies will understand this because when the character experiences emotions of grief or loss, you grieve with them because you have grown attached to them. Of course, in order for this to happen, the book, movie, or play should be well written and well performed. You have to be able to identify with the characters. Catharsis in literature works a lot like therapy does in real life by giving readers the opportunity to experience intense emotions from a distance. So it allows them to let it all out. As you know, when you go to therapy, you go and sit with your therapist and talk about the traumatic experiences that you have been through. And you examine these emotions or these experiences from a distance because you are in a safe environment. You are talking to someone who is professional and you are examining them from a temporal distance. So you let it all out. You talk to your therapist and let it all out. And this is exactly what happens in literature. If you have been through the same experience that the character has been through, then you will be able to experience the same emotions that you have been through before from a distance. How so? Through this character. So you grieve with him, you heal with him, and you let it all out. Cathartic works are especially good at tapping into repressed emotions. And repressed emotions are emotions that a reader or audience member may not typically allow themselves to feel. So, cathartic works focus on repressed emotions, pent up emotions, emotions that you try to bury deep inside because you don't want to go through all of these emotions of hurt or anger or sadness. You just try to ignore them. But when you watch a play or read a book that portrays these emotions in vivid descriptions, you unconsciously begin to feel these emotions again. So it's like the picture before you, it's a kind of purification. It's like you have all of these emotions swirling inside you, and you go through this purifying fire and come out clean. In his Poetics, Aristotle argues that the true aim of tragedy is to bring about a purification of emotion. Aristotle maintains that catharsis is a crucial part of tragedy and that tragic plots should evoke fear and pity, as these are the emotions most often associated with tragic plots. So Aristotle believes that one of tragedy's main aims is to bring about a purification of emotion or catharsis. Why did he choose tragedy specifically? Because tragedy evokes fear and pity, as tragic plots are not comic. So the actions within them usually evoke fear or pity. We fear that something might happen to the hero of the tragedy, and we pity him when we see him struggling with his flaws. So these emotions usually surface during tragedies. Most tragedies involve human suffering, which, according to Aristotle, is an action that involves destruction or pain. This pain or destruction should produce the emotions of fear and pity in the audience. So, according to Aristotle, tragedies are concerned with human suffering, and human suffering occurs because of destruction or pain. It could be physical destruction or it could be emotional pain. And these two actions produce the emotions of fear and pity in the audience. A tragedy that doesn't elicit these emotions fails to meet the purpose of tragedy, which is to imitate a specific action as closely and accurately as possible, which in this case is human suffering. So, according to Aristotle, any work of art should imitate something as closely and accurately as possible. And what does tragedy imitate? It imitates human suffering. So, if I watch a tragedy and I feel nothing, I don't feel any pity or fear, then this tragedy is not a good one because it has failed to portray human suffering accurately. If it did, I would have felt something. I would have felt fear or pity for the characters who are suffering. Aristotle ultimately argues that people find pleasure in viewing distressing imitations, like those found in tragedy, as long as such imitations are viewed from a safe distance. Why do people find pleasure in viewing these imitations? Because they feel relief and they derive pleasure instead of pain or suffering because they view it from a safe distance. People who like horror movies usually find pleasure or feel good after watching it. Why? You are watching a distressing situation. You are watching someone who lives in a haunted house and you get these jump scares, but you watch it from a safe distance. You know that you are safe in your own house or in the theater and that nothing is going to happen to you. But if you experience these situations in real life, if you find yourself in a haunted house or any of the situations that you find in horror movies, you will feel distressed, of course. Catharsis through tragedy not only allows the audience to view a distressing image, it allows them to vicariously experience the same emotions. So you don't just sympathize with the character, no, you identify with them. You feel as if you are in the movie. You cry when they cry. You feel fear when they are afraid. You feel shock when they are shocked. And again, horror movies are a great example of this because you usually jump at the jump scares. Or let's say if someone is hiding from a ghost or something in a movie, you feel as if you were right there with them. You aren't just influenced by the characters. No, you live vicariously through them. According to Aristotle, the strongest catharsis comes from tragic plots that involve reversal. Aristotle defines reversal as a change to the opposite in the actions being performed. In other words, catharsis is best achieved during tragedies in which events defy expectations. This occurs when one action is expected to have one result, but in fact has the opposite result. In order for a tragic plot to be effective, it usually includes a reversal. What is a reversal? It's a change of expectations. It's like you are expecting something to happen, but something else entirely happens. So, for example, a main character in a movie is in a very dangerous situation. This character has called the police. The police is rushing towards him. So, we expect that the character will be saved, that he will survive. But the opposite happens. The police ends up arriving late and the character is killed. So, this is an example of a reversal. It's something that defies our expectations. You expect something to happen, but the opposite happens. And this, of course, evokes pity towards the character. In addition to reversals, Aristotle also argues that catharsis is best achieved through tragic plots that involve recognition. Aristotle defines recognition as a change from ignorance to knowledge, disclosing either a close relationship or enmity on the part of people marked out for good or bad fortune. In other words, recognition is a sudden understanding or revelation which for most of the plot remains unknown. So recognition is another device that occurs in tragic plots, and it's a change from ignorance to knowledge. And it usually discloses a close relationship or enmity. Let's imagine a movie in which two characters are always fighting with each other. They are enemies and they are trying to kill each other throughout the movie. And one of them ends up killing the other at the very end of the movie. And then the guy realizes that he has killed his brother. So he thought that he killed his enemy, but turns out that his enemy was his brother. He just didn't know it. So this disclosure of a close relationship results in a sudden understanding. And this understanding is the recognition, but it usually comes too late when nothing can be changed, when something tragic has already occurred. So again, when recognition happens and the hero realizes that his enemy is actually a family member, or the opposite, that one of his trusted family members is a backstabber, then a recognition happens and we feel bad for him, we pity him, and thus catharsis is achieved. So that was the last point in our lecture today. I have compiled a list of extra resources for you. You can find it in the description below. Thank you for watching this lecture. I hope you have understood the concept of catharsis, recognition, and reversal.